Dillon Gabriel, he had 83 attempts. He had 48 completions.
Shedeur Sanders was consistently delivering the football and making plays.
Dolphins might be a better situation for him. I wouldn't be shocked to see Dolphins trade for the Browns quarterback Dillon Gabriel at the end of the preseason. They liked him a ton and saw him as an incredible scheme fit with the athletic upside, and we're going to take him a few picks later, but then the Browns drafted him per source. That is Mr. Ben Kurt, famous Madden player. I think he also played in the NFL. No, he's a former NFL player that does breakdowns on Madden. So he does have some sources that are pretty close to the NFL. And let's talk about this. Let's talk about Shedeur Sanders possibly getting Dillon Gabriel traded, because going into the preseason, we talked about all the quarterbacks. Is Shedeur going to get traded and possibly to the Saints after the car injury? Is Kenny Pickett going to be traded? He's got some more years, potentially some upside, XYZ. Maybe the Browns don't need him. And was he just a safety blanket for some of the issues and ailments that they had at the quarterback position as of the year? So we're going to go through this claim from Kurt. We're going to go through a few trusted Brown sources as they're kind of agreeing and either disagreeing with a few points. And then after that, I'm going to give Dillon Gabriel some shine. We're going to talk about why teams would find him attractive and why I've been telling y'all that, hey, it's going to be a competition to try to Shedeur to beat Dillon Gabriel out. I think it's a competition that Shedeur can win. So we're just going to see how things progress. Really appreciate y'all rocking with me and watching these videos. I hope you enjoy it. If you do like it, leave a like. If you don't, dislike it. Subscribe if you enjoy football content of all shapes, sizes, and forms. Let's get right into it. And again, let's start with Kurt and his claim. So again, if you don't know, former Virginia Tech player or Virginia player, as well as Packers player, Ben Kurt. Really, he's known for getting made fun of online. People like to make fun of him because he never started or XYZ. I think he did start some games, but he was never someone who was an elite player, but nevertheless someone with a history in the NFL. He reported obviously that Dillon Gabriel seems like a target for the Dolphins, and when you speak about the Dolphins offense and how they navigate, and just think about the quarterback they have in Tua Tagovailoa. I mean, this is a mini Tua in Dillon Gabriel with probably, some people would argue, a better arm, right? Now, obviously shorter, a little more mobile. I don't think he's had the injury history that Tua had, which really only started, at the tail end of his collegiate career. I know he had some hip things and stuff like that. I think it would be a pretty good transition. I think the biggest thing that you have to point out is that he's a lefty, right? Not just that he's Polynesian, but a lefty offense that's already been building around a lefty. They don't have to re-switch everybody over to the right, which you would typically have to do with a regular quarterback, or my guy Quinn Ewers that's in that quarterback room. So as opposed to that, you have Dillon Gabriel, who will be able to just kind of step in and pick up where Tua leaves off if he's not healthy, or if it's just 2 or 3 more years, and he sits behind him and he's mini Polynesian Patrick Mahomes. I don't know, but a lot of things can happen there, and it's a very realistic thing, scheme fit. But let's talk about the skill set for Dillon Gabriel. So the Dog Sleeping Brown podcast commented on this and says, this is an interesting take. We talked about how the Browns took Gabriel at 94 because they feared another team was going to take him, and the Dolphins were one of those teams. Okay, so first, let's break this down. Let's speak about the way that Dillon Gabriel is looked at as a player, right? And Shedeur Sanders. And with this reporting, just as first line, it seems that the Browns both felt like Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders were simply just assets. They were just pieces that they might be able to bargain off to, quarterback hungry, maybe get an injury in the preseason, maybe injury in the whatever season that they could just use to get either extra picks, or maybe they can shore up some places, maybe at linebacker because you missed Jock for the full season. So with that being said, I think it shifts the narrative. Besides, because in my head, Shedeur Sanders was that pick. Shedeur Sanders was, hey, 5th round, maybe, the owner called up and said, hey, make it whoever you believe. But regardless, at the end of the day, a 5th round quarterback that a lot of people perceive to be at the worst a 2nd round pick is a value pick that maybe I can get some few things. Maybe if he looks good in the season, whatever. But it seems like both Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur were looked at like that, only taken because, hey, someone else is going to take you. I know I can have a value in bargaining chip. Let's continue. Again, the Browns are going to have to move one of their quarterbacks at some point. Personally, I wouldn't trade Gabriel unless there was a zero market for Kenny Pickett. I believe there is zero market for Kenny Pickett. Regardless, the rookie contract and potential unknown upside are worth holding on to, in my opinion. But if the Dolphins were ready to take Gabriel at 98, maybe they'd make an offer to the Browns. Felt too good to pass up. So, again, I think at this point, if the Browns treat this right, and we got to be honest with you, Browns fans, y'all know better than us. They're pretty notorious at not doing things the right way. Obviously, Andrew Berry is under the hood now, trying to get the ship and stir it right correctly or steer it correctly. So who knows? It's really seen to see what all the plans play out into. So maybe they were just playing 3D chess, getting two quarterbacks. Maybe this just means that again, there are still, after the draft, there are still quarterback hungry teams, and there are still teams that are going to be like, hey man, we need a quick fix. We need a Sam Darnold. We need I was gonna say Kirk Cousins, but not necessarily. I'm talking about like a pinch hitter a Geno Smith for those few years. We need someone who can come in, and you don't have to take over the league. You don't have to take over this team, but can I get some serviceable years out of you for 2 to 3 years? Can I get a Brock Purdy? I think the 49ers, clearly by the way that they've paid Brock Purdy, are so happy they have a Brock Purdy. As much as people want to talk about, game manager, this, that. He's a starting quarterback at an NFL team, and they have faith in him enough to pay him and say, hey, let's do that. I think that Dillon Gabriel can have some of those same skill sets to be able to at least be tantalizing to teams, specifically on that rookie contract, which is hard to get with the quarterback numbers going up. So the Browns drafted Dillon Gabriel for a reason. The Dolphins may have wanted him, but we got him. So that's what the Browns Nation says. And I do want to say that some of the Browns fans, I can tell the Browns fans from the Shedeur fans, and there are Browns fans that are Shedeur fans, but a lot of the Browns fans have been Dillon Gabriel fans, right? Not to say that they all think that he's going to be the future, but they like him. They're like, hey, the kid can wiggle. He's done some good things in his past, and it makes sense. Now, I will say this video probably doesn't lend himself well for staying in Cleveland. I'll say that right now.
Could you just fill in the blank? We will beat Ohio State if we do.
Be at our best.
What's your best look like?
Competitive, making plays, being good in situational football. Not for the coach talk, but it's just the reality of the situation. But we love the Rose Bowl. We love warm weather. I think we should play more football on nice grass instead of our artificial stuff. And the more sun, the better. Why do we do it to ourselves? Like, do fans want to sit in the snow and the rain? And let's just make arenas. Let's make domes. Let's do grass. Let's do more fireworks at games.
He's just rattling stuff.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, all right. So first of all, if you keep winning, you get domes the next 2 games. So
I love that.
Did you know that?
I do, or now I do.
Now you do.
But let's continue that evolution. I think that's important.
I think what I'm really hearing right now is that every football game should be played in Hawaii.
Wouldn't that be unreal?
Basically. So, he loves warm weather, and I think it was dope to kind of get his mindset. I do appreciate Dillon Gabriel because for as much as Shedeur Sanders is starting to be propped up as a media darling, and hey, I appreciate him, I think Dillon Gabriel does a good job at showing his personality in some of these, right? Whether it's the Browns, interviews, or if this interview, obviously for the college football playoff, I think he does a good job still displaying that, hey man, I'm still a guy, right? I'm a guy. I like fireworks and warm weather, but hey, if you enjoy warm weather so much, if you enjoy sunny, if you enjoy not snow, I think Miami is the epitome of that. I'm not sure if Cleveland, Ohio is the place for you. But hey, them Polynesian boys, kind of like Florida boys, that some people say like, hey, Florida boys, they can only play in Florida. They can only play in the South because they go to the North. They can't do nothing similar with Northern boys. Maybe they can't go down and play other places and spaces. So going on, I do want to shout out Dillon Gabriel really quick before we get into any more specific stuff. We're going to watch this funny little video with, where Dillon Gabriel had the man Joe Felicity, popped up. But again, we talk about a lot of Shedeur Sanders and the good thing that he does and what he gives back. Please, I also want to highlight what Dillon Gabriel has already done in his small time in the NFL. I love when these guys who you can tell love football and love what football has given to them immediately give back, right? Shedeur Sanders has been in the community. Shiloh Sanders gave back to Colorado football team. There's countless other things that I can bring up, but these guys haven't even played an NFL game yet. I know they have NIL checks and XYZ, but here is Dillon Gabriel. I believe this was a few months back. He actually gifted new uniforms to his old high school, so they're looking fresh and cool and clean. Oh, okay, they went Jumpman on them. So they got that situation going over there in Hawaii. That's awesome. That's phenomenal. But let's talk about that personality. Let's see what Dillon Gabriel and Mr. January Joe get into right here.
We're gonna recreate one of the review. All right, I'll do that one. Yeah. Which one do you want? I'll do that one. That was good. Yeah. I feel like it'd be funnier if you were on the ground. I'll be on the low one. Yeah. Yeah, that looks great. Because then it's like more commitment. Yeah. All in. I love
Shout out to Joe, man. Shout out to January Joe, man.
Oh, this is so good. Awesome.
Hey.
Oh, that's so sick.
January Joe.
Yeah, you want to take a look?
Hey man, people keep trying to say, "Oh man, you know, he's too old, or he's annoyed, or he's XYZ." I don't believe all that, dog. I think that he's having quite the good time, and I think that it's important for someone who is gonna get a lot of pressure to quote unquote mentor people, whether it's Shedeur or whoever stays there. The fact that you could argue if he's mentoring, but he's been a good sport. You know the dance thing with Shedeur. I haven't danced in my life. They're laughing and joking. He's getting in on cool little. Hey, let's get down here and do a cool little photo. Like I think that's important for not just a vet, but a respected vet in Joe Flacco to really approach the game like that. I'll open up a little bit so they can also take from you, right? They can also learn to be a vet. I think it helps you ain't got to sit there and preach to them, but snap a picture with them. Do a TikTok with them, Joe. Relate to the kiddos, and they're going to, I think, relate to you and be open to what you want to pour into if you do decide to do that or just pick up on the things. I think that's absolutely phenomenal. I think the Joe Flacco conversation, no matter who's in this quarterback room, is going to be an interesting situation to follow throughout the season. So who will be the Browns Week 1 starter? Mr. Frank Schwab's. I don't know what that means. Yahoo Schwab breaks down the odds. I don't know if that's a dude or if that's because Schwab, I don't know if that's an AI thing. Sometimes I do AI odds or whatever. I don't care. I'm going to call you an AI, son. All right. And they got Joe Flizzy at 50%. I'm not mad at that. Kenny Pickett at 40%. Dillon Gabriel at 9%. And Shedeur Sanders at 1%. So y'all comment down below. What is wrong with these odds? I think y'all are going to have a lot of comments about it and go from there. But again, let's speak about Dillon Gabriel. And the reason why I don't talk about him like he's a bum, because he is no bum. Look, Dillon Gabriel, while he wasn't, you know what I'm saying, he wasn't seen as an elite guy, right? Early 4th round pick, late 4th round pick. So these are what some of the people have to say. He was still a guy who showed up and did big things and was extremely productive in his years in the collegiate football years. Dillon Gabriel on passes to be 20 yards downfield. He was first in the Big 12, and this is back in 2023. 265 yards, 56.3% completion, 22.5 yards per average. That's first. 34.4. I don't even know what that A dot is, but he was second. 16 attempts, 8. 13.6 attempts, got 20 plus yards, and that was 12. Pretty good this year when going deep, and that kind of highlights the fact that the kid's got a laser on him, right? I know he's a lefty, but he can put that ball out there. And I do have to admit that as much as we've been talking about the improved velocity from Shedeur Sanders, Dillon Gabriel's velocity has been one of his stronger points. That arm, he can really rip it. It's not just about distance with him. It's a lot about velocity. Let's see what those velocity has done for his collegiate career. So, notoriously started with in UCF, I believe, under Gus Malzahn. Please, somebody forgive me, or probably right before Gus Malzahn got there. Regardless, played a brand of football that I think is a little bit different than what we're accustomed for him to seeing until we saw it back again at Oregon, right? Obviously with the 236 and then 248 and then 70 attempts. I believe that was an injury year. So, do what you got to do, take your red shirt. But 398 attempts and then 413 attempts, 59% and then 60% completion. You improve on your completion. You lose up 100 yards. You lose some averages. You gain more touchdowns and become more efficient over your 2 years at UCF. So I think you have to admit that. You get hurt in 2021, 2022, and 2023. You terrorize my Texas Longhorns at 62.7 completion in 22 with 3,100 yards, 8.6, 25 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 78 long, and 25 sacks. Now, you go ahead and throw more attempts increase your completion percentage from 62% to 69.3%, 3,600 yards, 9.5 average. How about 5 more touchdowns, same amount of interceptions? Now, this is where it gets a little nutty. This is where it gets weird, okay? You increase even more of your attempts. He increased his completion percentage even more. I believe Shedeur Sanders was 74.2 or 73.9. Dillon Gabriel for 2024, 72.9. That's not a bad day at the office, ladies and gentlemen. 3,847 yards, 8.6 average. Again, 30 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. That's kind of crazy. But then you go on the ground, and he had another 7 touchdowns on the ground for Oregon, another 12 touchdowns in that last season for Oklahoma. So he does it with his feet. He does it on through the air. He does it efficiently. He does it effectively. Again, when I spoke about him being hard to beat out, I don't want y'all to think that he was some elite player that's it can't be stopped. Really, it was that he has traits that Kevin Stefanski enjoys, and Kevin Stefanski wants to implement into his offense. Good decision maker, high completion percentage passer, right? These are things that made him theoretically, if that was the guy that could take over the reins, right? That's what makes him attractive to Kevin Stefanski offenses, which you're seeing there statistically from the collegiate level. Now, going forward, right? 2024 Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year. I want that. That's big. I want you. It was a loaded Big Ten this year. Obviously, Oregon, Ohio State, all the craziness. Their two matchups. Jeremiah Smith being a man child. Emphasis on the man. A lot of big dogs throughout the Big Ten. So being the Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year, I think, stands out a lot. Number 1 in pass completion for the Big Ten in career. He's number 7th in pass completions, number 17 in the American, which is interesting because he only spent 2 whole years there. Pass attempts, number 1 in the Big Ten in career. He's number 5 in the NCAA. Pass completion percentage in 2023 was looking pretty good as well. And then pass touchdowns, number 1 in the American in 2020, number 1 in the Big 12 in 2023. And then he is number one in all of NCAA in passing touchdowns. So, he does some great things, and obviously the ranks there. Number 2 in passing yards. Obviously, he's been playing for a long time, but you do have to account and give him credit for being able to do that and have those accolades and records there. And again, the zip has been absolutely apparent, and every time he throws the ball. But y'all let me know, does it make sense for Dillon Gabriel, for Kevin Stefanski to let go of Dillon Gabriel? Again, a rookie contract. You would think it makes a little more sense to get rid of somebody with some age. You would think it would make sense on somebody who you at least know kind of what he is in Kenny Pickett, right? Shop him around, do that. Y'all let me know down below. If Dillon Gabriel is going to be traded, should he be traded? Who should be traded? And who's going to start week 3? Who is starting week 3 for the Browns? You comment that down below. I cannot thank y'all enough for watching this video. Again, we are not Dillon Gabriel haters over there. We just enjoy Shedeur Sanders as well. Wish the best for Dillon Gabriel, and I think the Miami Dolphins might be a better situation for him. So y'all let me know what y'all think. Comment down below. Like the video if you like it. Dislike if you don't like it. Subscribe if you enjoy football content of all shapes and sizes. Man, continue to be great, and we'll see you next time. Peace.